It was announced on Monday that they are moving forward with another Tomb Raider film from the 2018 movie that starred Alicia Vikander, Walter Goggins, and Dominic West. That one was directed by Roar Uthog. Um, originally this movie, the sequel, was supposed to come out this year in March. Well, we're already in February tomorrow, and they haven't even started filming it. In fact, the news that we're bringing up today is they actually replaced their director that they originally had, Amanda Wheatley, who did High Rise with Tom Hiddleston, and they brought in Misha Green, who just finished doing HBO's Lovecraft Country. I did not watch that show, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, it's the Lovecraft type of story, so you're going to have that kind of more darker stuff and everything that's happening with that. So it's kind of that darker thriller kind of horror stuff that's really happening with there. I didn't watch too much. I watched like clips here and there, but what I saw, it looked good.
Yeah, and going back to the Tomb Raider, the first one that came out in 2018, not confusing the original with Angelina Jolie back in the early 2000s. This one came out in 2018 with Alicia Vikander. I liked that film. I saw it in theaters. Um, I liked Alicia Vikander. She's a good actress. She's married to Michael Fassbender. She looks the part, and even in the movie, she really brought Laura Croft to life. And it really was a nice adventure, fun 2 hour popcorn, flick.
Yeah, see that movie was based off of the new trilogy of video games that was done by Crystal Dynamics, and those games are really good. I played those games; they're really good. They're basically kind of movies that you just play as a video game. That's kind of the style of it. So, an Uncharted style. I'm assuming that the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland is going to be kind of very similar to this because those are in effect just movies in game form. That's why they kind of do so well. They're more linear action based games and stuff like that. And the movie was it basically from the major plot beats down to the outfits down to her weapon of choice, the bow and arrow, and all that stuff. All that was ripped directly from the games. There's different plot things which kind of makes what potentially they could do next very confusing because in the movie her father was still alive and then died on the island, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm remembering that right. And that's not how it was in the game. Her father was dead like years before in the game, and how he died is actually very pivotal in the second game in the series. So they're going to have to make even more changes to kind of, if they're using the second game as the plot, as the basic kind of plot outline for their second movie.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because even the ending of the first movie, I mean, it left it open, but it didn't leave it open in terms of this is where they're gonna go next.
Mm-hmm.
They just left that she's probably gonna be going on another adventure,
Right.
but there was no hint at what it might be or anything like that.
Right, so as the games go, basically they had this one, which was kind of more delving into Japanese lore. The next one was kind of delving into Byzantine lore, so it's kind of all about the supposed prophet who went in. It loosely ties itself to Christianity, but then it also distances itself from Christianity because we don't want to anger the people who are overly religious or the people who hate religion. So they're trying to straddle that myth of Christianity prophet type of deal in there for the game. So they could do that. The general overarching of what she's searching for could be the same, and that could be a good base for it, because out of the trilogy of those three games, the second one is hands down the best one. So it's a good plot line, but the problem is it's a good plot line for what it had. So some of the characters that made the game good and gave the story in the game either A, didn't die the way that they died in the movies, or B, don't even exist in the movies. So
yeah, we'll see. Like I said, Misha Green is not only directing, but she's rewriting the script. So we don't even know, based on what their original script was for the sequel, it looks like they're throwing that out and starting over from scratch. So we don't have a release date yet for the movie. It might come out next year, it might come out 2 years from now. But we'll keep you updated as more information comes. We're going to move on now to our next topic, talking about Kevin Hart joining the Borderlands video game. We're staying on the video game topic right now.
yeah, video game movies. Ironically, the Borderlands is a franchise that I always thought would have the easiest way to get to be a successful video game to movie franchise. Because there's not a lot of them that actually worked. Like, ironically enough, the Angelina Jolie films, ironically, were some of the best video game to movie adaptations.
Besides
And
Mortal
they
Kombat.
were what?
Besides Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, besides Mortal Kombat. And Mortal Kombat was more like the it's so bad it's good. And we are getting a new Mortal Kombat movie, which I'm super psyched for. But I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to the easiest way to explain the dynamic of what this movie should be, a Borderlands movie, think about the recent Jumanji ones with Kevin Hart and The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
And
And that's basically kind of what it is. Instead of people getting dropped in, I mean, they could do that whole thing if they wanted to make a real world overview of it. But if you're just dropping, it follows 4 main characters that go through a quest and they have to do things. And the only question that I have is that Kevin Hart is supposedly cast as Roland. Let's equate this in the actual like character stuff. Roland is supposed to be the Rock of this series. And instead of casting The Rock as The Rock for this series, you cast Kevin Hart to play the big, tough, gruff, more straight-lined character. Like, he's typically like he was legitimately like kind of based off of The Rock. He does quips, but he's the more serious out of the 4 main characters that kind of were there. So there were so many. I think Kevin Hart is hands down a great choice to be in this and to be attached with Borderlands. I just don't think he's Roland, but he can impress me. Kevin Hart's impressed me before.
I mean, Kevin Hart is more of the comedian. Most of his movies are comedic roles. Even in Jumanji, he played the comedic. Even though that movie also had Jack Black being the comedian too.
Mm-hmm.
The only movie I've seen recently that came out, I want to say, early 2019, was called The Upside with Bryan Cranston. And that was the only film that Hart played a more serious, straight role.
Mm-hmm.
He had very little comedic moments in that. It was more straight, serious. And I said, okay, he can do dramatic roles. So maybe this is his next step in that journey of...
He's trying to do like what Liam Neeson did for action movies.
Yeah.
And that could be a thing. The one good thing about Borderlands is because it's it's not a game series, it's not a story series that takes itself seriously at all. I mean, the entire point of the game is to try and find this mythical vault, and guess what turns out to be the mythical vault? Spoiler alert, if you care, it's a giant tentacle monster. So it's like, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. So the entire ethos of the game isn't like a serious action flick. It's a comedy action, but more action than comedy.
Okay, so other than Kevin Hart, they have Kate Blanchett starring in the film. So we'll see what other cast members they bring onto the project.
And always remember to like, comment, subscribe wherever you are. The podcast is available wherever you want to get your podcast. If we are not there, let us know, and we will get there. Remember to like our Facebook page, Attack Bat Productions. Thanks for listening, everyone.